You're welcome back to Morning at NTV. Yes, and now you clearly know AFCON begins today. Of course, the 32nd edition, and Uganda will be making its 7th appearance. Yes, and so we are excited. And we cannot wrap up the show without touching on the business side, of course, of football. Now, football is undoubtedly the most powerful and most popular sport in the world, linking communities, stirring emotions, breaking down cultural barriers. Yes, so football has also become one of the most profitable industries with a significant economic impact in infrastructure as well. However, several highly profitable football business ideas are yet to be explored in Uganda. This morning on our Take Note segment, we carry on with the talk on football, but this time around exploring ways of making money out of it. We are still joined by Mr. Ismail, a sports analyst, to have that conversation. But David, something quite interesting?
Yes, very interesting is that online sports betting, which has been an age-long business in Africa and the rest of the world, but a few years ago, some individuals decided to invest and introduce a business here in Uganda, though there are still issues on regulation, the result which was such a disruptive success. Football fans quickly embraced sports betting, and today is probably the most popular business in the country. Every single corner you turn, football business is the thing. And like we have had this conversation a little bit earlier on, but just slightly. We have the man from National Council of Sports, Mr. Ishmael Daakaba Chigongo. I like it the way you said Daakaba.
Thank you.
Yes.
You got it right. Finally,
Daakaba
I found someone who doesn't come from Bugwedi who knows the name. Exactly.
So I think the people in Bugwedi, when you become MP, they will accept me to have any position under there. But anyway, Ishmael, when we come to the business side of sports in this country, I think it was beginning or towards the end, it was beginning of this year when I had a bet that Uganda, the government, will not ban sports betting. I had a bet on that, and it actually came true. It did happen because like you said, football is a sport, it's an entertainment, and I don't want to put it to the fact that very many Ugandans are unemployed, but even the employed ones, you find them on their phone trying to, bet on a game here or two. So the business side of sports is very high. That only explains why companies and the government is willing to fund as much as $2.4 million in the Uganda cranes to go to the African Cup of Nations.
I think, and I was not even waiting for you to ask me a question. I think as a society, we've been reduced to begging. And one of the reasons why football today maybe does not make the money it's supposed to make is that we've yet to appreciate that sport can make its own money, largely. We're a society who think that when I have a football team, Idudi FC or Buyanga FC, or Bugwedi FC, that someone is going to come and give me the money. We're yet to appreciate that actually sport can make this kind of money. One of those ways has been sports betting, and actually I think that story about government banning sports betting I think was misrepresented, because I remember the minister David Bahati saying that no new license will be issued to new betting companies.
Correct.
Yeah, and for me, I actually believe that, and this comes from a bit from my economics background, that one of the ways probably to promote local investors, to ensure that no company comes in here and is entirely foreign owned. And that's, I think, for me, the biggest challenge with the betting industry. But that's only one way of looking at sport. I've always argued that the challenges of Ugandan sport today, and this is what will turn football into business, for me are hinged on only 4 pillars. One is the sports infrastructure. We are extremely short on where people play sport, the football. In this case, football. We are short on where people play football. growing up, you saw, and David, I bet you had not yet got onto that track to come to Kampala. That ShopRite area was all football pitches. Our kids went there every Saturday and played football the entire day. I went there. I wasn't actually talented at all, but I went there to see other kids play, and I was thoroughly entertained. You see what happened to that place. We lost a lot of talent because of that. One, sports infrastructure. Two, administration. We need the right people in the positions that will aid sport. Today, I can give myself a bit of credit that probably from my communication background and being in the communication docket under the Ministry of Education and Sports, at least maybe I can claim there's someone who understands what communication is. And it's the first time that someone was there to do that particularly. So administratively, and this is probably in National Council of Sports, in the ministry, at the various federations, the administration of sports is still very, very lacking. Three, the funding. We are still talking about some of the smallest budgets. While we're all fighting last week when the budget was read out for 26.2 billion shillings, this is peanuts. In the National Council of Sports budget framework paper, sport in Uganda needs 196 billion shillings. And was allocated in 26, and this is peanuts of what sport could make, because at the last Nations Cup, and I was in Gabon, Ghanaian players were being fined as much as $1,500 for any misdemeanor against during the team camp. And you can imagine if you find a Ugandan player $1,500, they'll probably quit the national team, because it would sound like a lot of money.
Correct.
For Ghana, it's peanuts. Four is, for me, all of us. The biggest challenge is society. As a society, we are yet to appreciate sport as an avenue. I always look back, and this is not only for football, I always look back at all these people who come from the kind of backgrounds and go into the non-conventional employment. I can imagine when Chameleon first chose to go and become a musician, probably in the late 90s, 97, 98, at Club Ecstasy in Boyogerere. Probably his parents were very mad at him. When Bebe Cool got onto that bus and went to Nairobi and started to do music, I can imagine the minister, the former minister, or like we call him in football, Mr. Jaberi Vidandis, I must have thought his son had gone crazy. Now, see the kind of transformation musicians have done in that area. I think that's the kind of transformation that football needs. Probably with one player like Dennis Onyango, he has managed probably to change the mentality of so many parents around their kids playing, because the hypocrisy of the Ugandan parent, of Ugandan society, is that in the evening I get into my sneakers, but because I'm such a hypocrite and go run around Kololo and feel and sweat a bit and want to get fit, the next thing I'm asking my kid to get extra homework just so that they keep themselves busy reading, because we're programmed in a way that we're supposed to stick to the conventional. You have to be a doctor, a teacher, or an engineer. Even this journalist, probably it's a new trend that people can accept, that the people who chose to be journalists. So I think we need, while you talk about the business of football, there's those facets that have to be aligned in a way that will benefit everyone.
Ishmael, history in this country, especially when it comes to sport, has its own history. When you talk about the years before, it was schools that were the biggest contributors to sports,
and they're the
in
cheapest.
this country. And they're the cheapest, exactly, because they don't really need that much investment. All they need is land, which schools, let's say about 20 years ago, had in plenty. So they needed a football pitch, a big football pitch. They don't need to put even buckets on the side for people to sit on. People will just come and throw, and so we have had schools. So that highly talks about the infrastructure, because that is where schools didn't need that much money. As you can see here, we have Nambole Stadium.
There's a lot of
this is a lot of money that was invested in the stadium, and right now this is the state that it's in. So when we go back to the clubs, we have clubs. I've been listing clubs here. KCCA. Those now we can't say don't have the infrastructure because they have a stadium. How big and how helpful can it be in bringing in the money is another question. We have Vipers, who I think have the best stadium in the country now. There's been a lot of investment in that. I'm going to get to the question. We have AC Villa, where we're not sure where their home is. We have the AC Villa were here, the railway. I think they're still there.
Yeah, there.
The place doesn't have even 10 seats. So why should I pay to enter? We have Express, who are a club in this country who have been known for like ever. We have now the new boys, Wakiso Giants. They bought a bus before they built a stadium. You understand, yeah? We have Ondu Paraka, who, if they bought a bus before a stadium, you'd understand they come from far.
Yes,
they need that bus to be transported. So we come to jerseys. I would rather order for a jersey, an Arsenal jersey from England, than order for an SC Villa jersey here in this country.
Okay, so
the franchise in this country is not as that important. We don't feel like it is important for me to be an SC Villa fan and officially buy that official jersey. Then the second thing is, people who have invested money in sports in this country have always been the rich people, the one that have some extra money to put on the side for SC Villa, to put on the side for Express. So there's the people that are on the board for this. It's not because they don't have anything to do with their money, but it's because they have the love for the sport and some extra money to put on the side. But they are not getting any money back.
Yeah.
So it is very hard for someone to keep investing in something and for the love of it, and they're not getting anything out of it. How do we move from that investment at mercy level to the investment of let's put money and get back some? Murindo will tell you very, very well today that the much money he has invested in that stadium in Chitende, he has not even gotten just...
He will never make back.
There's a chance that he will never make back. But why me? If I can build an arcade here on Kampala Road, should I go and build a stadium for SC Villa, when even the man that has built it before me, there's a chance that he might never get that money back?
I don't know where to start because you put so many things on the table. I hope, Mala, you remember all of them that David is saying.
She's very good at that.
Because one of the things when you're mentioning, I was thinking about the ways that football can make money, first of all. But the primary thing is to have infrastructure where you play. For me, that's the most important thing. That's the difference between Vipers. When you see such a football pitch,
this is typical for us here. We are good.
Yeah,
we are good to go.
This is a bit of the culture of what a football.
As long as we have those goal posts, the next we can usually use personal VR.
But there are several ways, and this week I was very glad to be invited to a thought leadership workshop organized by one of the companies here, Betway. And I was actually asked to give a speech on behalf of government by the people there, Clive Charles and Adela Gaba. And I thought one of the most important things I got from there, and they were talking about how football can make money. The most important thing is, first of all, to create a fan base. We can all go out and cry and say, probably I need to play on the continent, I don't have the money, government should sponsor them. That is one way. For me, that's what is the problem with Ugandan sport. We have been reduced to beggars, because every time football has to do something, someone else has to provide the money, and that person does not have to be a beneficiary of what is going to happen, or may not have to even understand what is going on. Now, for sport to make its own money, people need to create fan bases, because the biggest driver of sports development across the world is the corporate sector. There is nowhere in the world where government has been able to fund sport, because it's extremely expensive. The only people who can fund it ably is the private sector. In countries like the UK, under the former Prime Minister John Major in the late 80s and early 90s, he's the one who went out and said, okay, because gaming and lotteries were making a lot of money at the time. So he went out and said a percentage of all the money made out of gaming and betting and gambling will go towards sport. And that's how sport was transformed in the UK. Now, thereafter, of course, there are things that happened in the Premier League in 1992 and having to go to court to fight for their share and eventually break out from the FA. That's a totally different story. But now we need a private sector-driven growth. How we do that? The private sector do not come, NTV do not go to support a sporting cause because they've chosen sport as a way to waste their money. They are looking for numbers. Now, when you don't have the numbers, that's where the challenge is going to start.
So what you're saying is that everything by the end of the day will trickle down to the fan base?
To the fan bases. We need to build the fan bases. We need to have these people in a database. Because when you're coming to me, and I'm the managing director of a company like NTV, what I'm looking forward to hearing from you is not the fact that our team does not have water training, our team does not have jerseys at training. I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to tell me in terms of what NTV is going to benefit.
Right.
And
how many people are going to turn up?
Yeah, exactly.
The numbers.
This is one of the things that administrators in sport have not understood. And this for me is the biggest challenge, that today everyone goes out and says Team Giambe. But Team Giambe is not what MTN is here to do. It's not why Stanbic woke up and put on their took off their pajamas and wore the suit and walked out of Johannesburg into Kampala. It's not the reason why all these companies, multinationals here, or it's not the reason why I opened my supermarket as Capital Shoppers anywhere in Kampala. I'm not there because I want to see your players take water. I came here to do business.
Ismail,
how do you translate your fan base into a business that I can benefit from by sponsoring your team?
You know, what you're saying is quite correct, because at the end of the day, even if it's about the fan base, now the private sector, for us to get to that space, they always look at what are the numbers? Where are the numbers? You know, even when they do advertising, they always say, how many eyeballs do you command? But let's look at, as we come to a close before we wrap this up, what other money-making avenues does the football sector have? Over and above, sports betting is a real deal. I mean, them that are in it are making, are making a kill. So what other avenues have we not maybe looked into, explored, so to speak, that maybe would mint us money? Just assuming that now the fan base grows, that the mentality of the Ugandans changes to the betterment of the football sector, where else can investors or maybe the football sector make money from?
Football today makes most of its money from TV revenue. That's where, for me, the money is. TVs are buying in to purchase the product and show it on television. That's why today it's very difficult to have 3 football tournaments on one TV channel, because everyone is trying to buy a slice of a footballing success. That's where the most money is. The second money is on sponsorship, on the shirts, merchandising, because you can say 5 years ago, teams in Europe, give an example of Liverpool, Manchester United, trained in the same kit, they trained with the same brand on their kit and played in the same. Today, United probably train in DHL, warm up in a different kit, and then wear Chevrolet. Liverpool train in Bet Victor, warm up in Western Union, then play in Standard Chartered, have Western Union here, then have an avalanche of sponsors. United have as many as 25 sponsors attached to them. 25. And we are talking about the biggest brand in football, the biggest brand in sport. That today they have as many as 25, and everyone still wants a slice of United. And those are the main avenues, because today the football fan who pays to walk into the stadium at the gate no longer has the money to fund sport. But what clubs are using these funds for is that let's have the numbers, then we'll have the big companies come to us, because we're the ones with the crowds. And for me, having grown up in a stadium, it's the final thing I'll say. When people had music concerts in Uganda, and I'm talking about not too far back, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when you had a concert at Sabrina's, or at the Old House of Entertainment, you came to Nachivovo to advertise your concert so that football fans would come and watch your music shows. Today, I think as football people, we need to go where the people are. People are watching Lydia Jasmine, they are watching Spice Diana, they are watching Bebe Cool, they are watching Chameleon, they are watching Khalifa Ganaga. If that's where they are, let's go there and find them. 20 years ago, they came to us to get people to their concerts. Today, the people in the stadiums have gone to watch those guys. Let's go there and find them.
I was about to hit you with a question that is probably going to prolong us very into another conversation, because you were talking about where the money is, and you're saying TV money.
TV is primary.
Yes, primary. We had SuperSport that came in here, gave us deals that we bundled and ended up losing a lot, because let's be honest, I think it's no, I don't think it's the biggest sports channel we have in Africa, and when you have your league on SuperSport, there is a higher chance that people will follow more on that. But you see, like I said, that is a conversation that is probably going
to... When SuperSport came here, we got $5 million in sponsorship as football, as a country. What happened? we fought each other until there was no football.
Exactly.
There is a challenge. That's why I said when I listed the 4 things: infrastructure, administration, funding, number 4, and critical society.
Before we let you go, it would be very unfortunate to allow you to leave before having your say on the African Cup of Nations and the Uganda Cranes. Where do you see their chances? Mujib earlier on said if they go past the group with 4 points, we see that day.
I agree with him. First of all, I think Egypt will win the tournament. I want Senegal to win the tournament. And this is, I want Senegal to win the tournament.
You always pick on those odd teams out of nowhere.
On the other side, for Uganda, a very difficult group. When Uganda last played Egypt at the Nations Cup in 2017, of course a lot has changed. They've since been to the World Cup. Mohamed Salah is a better player than he was, so those are going to be kind of challenges. Zimbabwe play the brand of football that will challenge Uganda because they love to pass it around. They have all these players with those outrageous names, marvelous talent, knowledge, whatever those names are. It's going to be a tough prospect. Then DRC combine a lot of pace with skill, and they are very, very strong. They are very, very strong physically. So it's going to be a very difficult group. I would be mightily pleased, and I want to use the prefix mightily as very important. I would be mightily pleased if Uganda made it out of the group stages.
Thank you very much, Ishmael. When you start talking football and the Uganda Cranes, I know how passionate you are with these two, so we might go on forever. But unfortunately, time doesn't allow us to go past this. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Very glad
a big thank you to Mujib Kasura as well for sparing some time with in his busy day to be here with us. Fortunately, time doesn't allow us. Thank you very much for all the responses that we're getting off social media. Thank you very much. Time doesn't allow us to go through it, but let's keep the conversation going. The hashtag is morning at NTV. In case you missed out on this show, www.ntv.co.ug, you can go back and rewatch. But from me and Mala and the civil servant here, let's go and enjoy our weekend. Let's leave you with the Uganda Cranes song. Of course, our first game is going to be tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Actually, kickoff should be 5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m. Good morning. Enjoy the weekend.